When choosing your next pair of full-sized over-the-ear headphones, the price always gets in the way, so you always have to sacrifice something somewhere. Today we are going to review a headphone that makes very little sacrifices, being priced at $379, not a low price, but still offering the performance of a proper flagship. This is the flagship from Lean Soul, the Harmonic Dyne Zeus Elite. You have to see the cable to believe that it is real. Such an amazing cable from the factory. But the cable isn't everything now, is it? Those are headphones with a 50mm dynamic driver. They have this outstanding cable included in the package, which is likely the best default cable that I've seen on a headphone. I don't think that any other headphone comes with such an amazing cable from the factory. The package is also incredibly good. It is better than what most headphones come with. But let's be honest, you are here about the headphones and not about the package. I've always been a huge fan of the original Harmonic Dyne Zeus, and I did gloss over the shortcomings of that one. So today we are not going to exclude anything. We are going to be razor sharp with the Zeus Elite and what it can do and what it can't do. Harmonic Dyne insists that they've upgraded the driver, and that is the biggest upgrade we've seen with the new Zeus Elite. The driver is now a long stroke 50mm dynamic driver, which should provide much better dynamics, much better impact, and much better bass than the original Harmonic Dyne Zeus. And when reviewing the Zeus, I did not notice that, but now hearing it in retrospective, it has quite a bit of a bass roll-off. I always am a bit more lenient with headphones that are priced lower, because usually you can't expect the performance of a 2,000 euros flagship from a headphone that is priced $349. And this one actually improves on the performance of the Zeus in the driver, but starting with the build quality is actually a bit worse than the Harmonic Dyne Zeus. It is made of metal steel, but it has a bit of clicking and handling noise. So the company clearly did not improve the build quality. They did improve the ear pads a bit, so the ear pads are a bit softer. The sponge inside is of a higher quality. The outer texture is much more pleasing to the ear, although the ear pads seem to be a bit smaller. So when placing the Zeus Elite on my head, my ears barely have enough space inside of the ear cups. If you have larger ears, those won't fit very well. The headband does a good job at distributing the weight, and you have to adjust it until you can find the best position for it. There is a slight hotspot at the top of the headband, like about here, because the headband doesn't have a very thick padding. The ear pads being so thick though, they support most of the weight, and they make wearing the Harmonic Dyne Zeus Elite rather comfortable. The cable is ended in a 4.4mm balanced jack, which is also really nice because you will need a balanced output to drive those properly. You can see holes and a lot of acoustic elements when you look inside of the ear cup of the Harmonic Dyne Zeus Elite. The driver is indeed quite large, and overall, they are a comfortable pair of open-back headphones. Wearing them provides about 8 to 10 decibels of passive noise isolation, although they leak quite a bit and people in the same room as you will hear the music you are listening to quite loud. The ear cups swivel in every direction possible, so there is enough movement and adjustment so that they will fit most heads out there. Although when it comes to the ear cup, you have to look inside to see whether they would have enough space for your ears or not. The Zeus Elite is actually much harder to drive than the technical specification would suggest. With an impedance of 32 ohms and a CPL of 105 decibels, you'd expect them to be quite easy to drive. But in reality, I have to bring all of my sources quite loud to give them enough power and enough boost and enough punchiness and enough loudness. So while they can be driven out of most sources, I would recommend a better source so that you can get a good experience with them. They do not distort at higher volumes, so you can listen to them both at quieter and at louder volumes without a problem. Although at quieter volumes you will hear the ambient noise, which means that you'll hear yourself clicking, yourself typing at your keyboard, or if you have an air conditioner or other devices that make noise in your room, those will be audible. So you will have to bump up the volume a bit to drown them out. The pair I have is the serial number 0021, which means that I am the lucky 21st owner of a Zeus Elite, and I've seen quite a bit of conversation about those online. So what is exactly happening with the Zeus Elite? Why do some people really love them and why do some people really don't feel it for them? So let's start with the comfort. The comfort is hit and miss. If you have smaller ears, they will be plenty comfortable. They will be like little pillows for your head, while if you have larger ears, they won't be quite as comfortable, so you will need to take that into account. Also, if you are sensitive to a hotspot at the top of your head, they won't be comfortable, because despite a low weight of 360 grams, that hotspot can get uncomfortable after a while, depending on how your head has the shape in this spot. So if I can feel it, I assume that about 50% of the people at least will feel it. Since you need a good source to properly drive them, that also means owning a good source is a must for the Zeus Elite, so those that did not own a good source wouldn't like this Zeus Elite. But what about the sound? Well, the sound of this Zeus Elite is an improvement over the original Zeus, which I did like, but it also highlights the shortcomings of the original, and it highlights its own shortcomings much more than I noticed them with the original. So first off, we have the bass. The bass of the Zeus Elite is improved quite a bit over the original. We have better depth, a much more slum and much more impact, but the bass rolls off below about 40 Hz, which means that there is not quite that much sub bass. This being said, the bass tries to be uplifted, which gives a good amount of substance and of weight to music, but having a roll-off in the sub bass, it means that you won't get that kind of super slam that you typically get from EDM or dubstep or electronic music in general. It also means that the slam and impact in death metal and in metal genres in general will be softer, and it will be lower in amount compared to a headphone that doesn't have any kind of roll-off. The original also had roll-off, and the new Zeus Elite has much better bass reproduction. The bass is deeper, it is thicker, it has more substance, and it generally adds more warmth to the sound, which creates the feeling that the music is more musical and more pleasing. Proceeding forward to the midrange, we have a midrange that is mostly natural in the lower mids and in the main midrange body, which is really good, but the mids aren't perfect. There is quite a sharp uplift and quite a sharp increase in the upper midrange and in the lower treble, which can create the sensation of fatigue, sharpness, and gives all instruments a slightly more fatiguing texture. This is something you will notice with electronic music, but with trumpets and with pianos and with most instruments as well. It can be heard as resolution by some people, but after hearing a lot of headphones, you will probably notice that they can be quite sharp. The treble tends to be smooth, so there is not quite that much treble to talk about. It has a low energy and it has a smooth texture. It is not offensive, so that upper mid-range increase can create a bit of discomfort when listening to more aggressive music like rock and metal. I think that it is quite obvious that whether you would like the Harmonic Dyne Zeus Elite or not will depend a lot on your head shape, your ear shape, and your music tastes. Since it has a somewhat forward mid-range and it brings voices forward and instruments forward, it tends to kill some of the sensation of distance between you and the singer. This means that you will get the kind of presentation where everything is in your face, everything is pushed forward, and you get a wide soundstage. You don't get a narrow soundstage, but not a very deep soundstage. Since most music will come right at you, it means that there won't be a lot of depth, a lot of distance between you and the singer. So it has a unique presentation that would work very well with specific kinds of rock and metal, specific kinds of anime related music, for example, with J-rock and J-pop. There, I think that the Zeus Elite would work very well, and it feels like it is a flagship specifically tuned and specifically designed for the Chinese inner market, because it has this kind of presentation that works really well with females with sweeter voices, where you want the sound to be right in your ear, where it works very well with voice-centric music, with pop music, for example, with Lady Gaga, with Katy Perry, with artists where the voice is sweet, where the voice is really likable. You'll want the Harmonic Dyne Zeus Elite in your face. You will like to hear all of this music right in your ears. On the other hand, if you are listening to stuff that doesn't sound so great right in your face, if you want a classical or an orchestral piece, it will not send everything deep enough, and it will not create the feeling of distance enough for it to sound realistic. So it is a very mixed bag, where it can be a brilliant headphone, a true flagship for certain music, while it can be a less exciting headphone for other kinds of music. It is very important to know whether you would like this mid-forward kind of presentation with some sub-bass roll-off, with a sharper upward mid-range and a smoother treble. And the closest flagship that I can refer to would be likely the Sandy Audio Peacock, which has a very similar presentation, and I was a huge fan of the Peacock. It is pleasing, but the Peacock has much more bass impact, it has a deeper soundstage, and it doesn't bring the mid-range quite so much in your face. Zeus Elite really brings voices in your face, and that creates the sensation of resolution and of detail. But yeah, you know, a mid-4-hour presentation won't be for everyone. It will be perfect for those who like a lot of pop, a lot of punk, a lot of rock and a lot of pop, but it will be not ideal if you want to listen some smooth laid-back jazz. At the end of the day, Harmonic Dyne Zeus Elite is an incredible headphone, regardless whether you can accept its overall tuning and signature or not. It is well made, it is comfortable, it has very high quality materials, it is presented like a proper flagship, and Lean Soul supporting it is excellent. Lean Soul is one of the best shops that you can grab your headphones and IEMs and hi-fi stuff from. They are outstanding with their support, with their selection of products, and Lean Soul is generally really pleasing to work with. On the other hand, it is the kind of headphone that you will either love or not love, and that much is evident. I am one of those who really loves this type of presentation, but I do have to admit its shortcomings. I want you to get the best headphones for you. It is important for me that you are having fun in this hobby, that you are having fun listening to the headphones that you go for, and this is why you are watching my videos. So ask yourself, do you generally like mid-range for art presentations? If yes, then the Zeus Elite is perfect. Do you generally enjoy bass even if it has a bit of roll-off in the sub-bass? If you are easily fatigued by a strong sub-bass, if you don't want a very large bass, then the Zeus Elite would be perfect. If you want a smoother treble, but still a bit of excitement in the lower treble and in the upper mid-range, if you want all of those things, then the Zeus Elite would be perfect. On the other hand, they won't be perfect for you if you are planning to get yourself a laid-back headphone or a bassy headphone or a headphone that is very neutral. It is neither of those. It is a headphone that is perfect for pop, for that kind of sweet sounding anime related music, and it is a headphone that comes with the best cable that I've ever seen in my entire life, included with a headphone. You really have to remind yourself that this is a cable that not even aftermarket cables can compare to. This is the kind of cable that I wanted to have from an aftermarket cable. I really like it, and I really like the headphone. It is lightweight, it is not very heavy, it is transportable, and it is fun to use. I hope that my video has also been fun to watch. I hope you will consider subscribing to Audiophile Heaven if you want to see more news about headphones, and if you like my approach. Please like this video if you enjoy my content. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope we'll see each other really soon. Bye!